This is Dave Meltzer, CEO of Sports One Marketing, and I am here with the Italian stallion, Bob Pascuzzi, and he is one of my new mentors. You know, it's very selective when I choose a mentor. I have to pick 3 people that sit in a situation that I want to be in or have knowledge that I want. And Bob, I'm just so excited to have you not only on the playbook, but sharing the wisdom that really excites me and attracted me to you. I think a conflictual wisdom. We're going to talk about your book, which is Get Tough and Get Rich.
Right.
Is that right?
Get tough, retire rich.
Or
Correct.
retire rich, even.
Yeah.
Be
Get
rich,
tough,
right?
retire rich.
Get tough, retire rich. I have a book next to my sink, Teddy Roosevelt, Strenuous Life. You're familiar with it? It's about 12 pages long. It's a speech about a strenuous life.
Right.
And our other mentor, Bob Proctor, shared with me that things don't have to be that difficult to have purpose and fulfillment. Give us a little bit of background on your philosophy, where it came from, and then we'll get to the book.
Right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Dave. It's great to be here, and welcome to Kansas City. The book is kind of a genesis of just all the study I've done over the years. So when it's Get Tough, Retire Rich, but it's really more about the psychology of just living rich every day. I think when people think about retirement, they think of something out there in the future. But the idea with this book and the motivation behind it was the opportunity that we have every day to live rich. And we do that through our mind, through rich thoughts, how we think of money. And so when I go back to when I was a kid, you know, I didn't really grow up in that environment. Money was an illusion. Like today we're going to have an illusionist.
Right.
And the definition of an illusion for me is a false belief. And we had a lot of limiting beliefs in the Pascuzzi household, unfortunately. My dad worked for the same company for 42 years. He provided for us, and he did a great job, but we were always behind the 8 ball with money. And so it was kind of the too much month at the end of the money thing with our family.
I love that.
And it's so important, I think, about the thoughts and the words we use. And my dad, unintentionally, the language that he used with us around money, and the leader of them all was, we can't afford it. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So when we start thinking and acting and talking that way, it becomes our reality. Even though it's an illusion, it's still our reality because to us we believe it. So beliefs are so important. And if we can start to shift those beliefs, then we can start to change our outside world. And what I wanted to do is just communicate to the people through this book that really in reality, everything you're searching for is searching you at the same time. And so if we can start to condition our mind through the way that we think, action, speech, talk, as you know, it's an abundant universe, things will start to come to us. And so that was kind of the onus for the book. Now, I obviously believe in, you know, the concept of retiring rich, but the best way to do it is just live rich every day. And if we can do that, everything's going to work out on the backside. That's kind of the thought of it.
So it's easy to tell people to live rich. It's easy to tell people to live in a world of more than enough. It's easy to tell people give as much as you can. But there's a pragmatic reality of all these energies that surround you, past beliefs and energies that you carry. What energy does money carry? Someone who's written the book about living rich.
Right.
What energy does money carry for you now? I know it carried a just enough energy before, but you know, I ask people, money means to you. They'll say freedom. You know, for me, it carries options, right? That's to me, it's not even freedom, it's just options. Money to me has an energy of options, and I want as many options as I can. I want as many items on my menu as I can every day.
Right.
That's living rich to me.
Right.
What is that energy to you?
It's an energy that, as you said, it just helps you think big, and it helps you see the universe as unlimited, and that you truly can have anything that you want. So, but again, I think for most people, that's a tough concept because, you know, there's only about 3% of the population that actually have unlimited abundance. I mean, they estimate about 95% of people are struggling to just meet their own needs, right?
Just enough, right?
Yeah, so just enough. So I think, you know, when you think about the 3%, they're all doing the same things. They might, you know, couch it in a different perspective, but they have a high level of energy around money. And so things come to us through vibration, and money is a vibration, right? So money can only come to us if we're at that vibration at a high level, and it will stay if we continue at that high vibration. So some of us attract money in, but then we don't know how we did it, and so it leaves. And so the key is to have as Solomon said, above all, get understanding. And understanding comes through study. So as we become more aware of what we're doing and how the mind works, that's how we can attract more of it and keep it long term.
Which I had experience in my life, which is why I'm having you mentor me as well, because I believe that, you know, no matter what level you are, at my level now again, or Warren Buffett, which is in another whole league, that I have these still limiting beliefs, that I have a thermostat that somehow has been set vibrationally, and that I want to break through, right? I've made, you know, in my real estate days, I had over $100 million worth of real estate.
Right.
But believe it or not, that actually had exceeded my thermostat, which made me feel not worthy, which made me do irresponsible and irrational things to lower my net wealth where I felt comfortable. And I worked really hard to raise that back up. But your expertise, what I found, is not necessarily just motivating people that have nothing to have things, or that are living in just enough to have more. One of the things that I think is remarkable about you is that nobody really became the specialist of saying, hey, Dave Meltzer, you know, you're a very successful guy, and you can mentor me about certain things that you know, like vibration I know a lot about, and theta healing and different philosophies. But let me teach you to reset that thermostat. If you think you're living rich right now and retired rich right now, let me teach you, you're not even a tenth of the way there. And that really intrigued me. How do you get out there and deal with the ego side of, attracting someone like me, where it's like, come on, man, I wrote the book, I teach the book, I speak the book, I don't need any help, to convince someone like me, no, you still have a long way to go?
Well, I really, that's a great question, Dave. I believe that we can, we have every individual has certain gifts and abilities, but maybe that, puts you ahead of someone else, but that same person has skills and abilities that you don't have. So we are always learning from each other. I mean, that's basically, I think, why we continue to study and learn, and you learn from the best like you, and I'm sharing ideas with you, you're sharing ideas with me, and together we use that synergy to grow. And it's just all about growing.
And with that growth, one of the things that we share, and I think that 3% shares that live in the world are more than enough, is that the focus isn't really on what is in it for me.
Right.
Like, I find that to be one of the most common. I see consistency as a commonality, persistency as a commonality, but abundance really means what I receive is for others. And I know you really live and walk that walk. Talk about how important giving is.
Right. Well, I don't think we're going to hold on to anything long term if we're not willing to give it away. And so I think the more you give, you're not giving, as you know, because you think you're going to receive, and you probably won't receive it back from whomever you gave it to. But if you have that belief system that I'm a giver, and the reason I can give is I know that I have more than enough, and that's the conditioning of your mind. I can give because I know more is on the way. And so that allows you to just be abundant with your money and not put limitations or expectations on why you're going to give something. It's as simple as going down the street and you see the person standing on the street corner with a sign. Do you stop and give them money? Or do you try to assess as you pull up, does this person really need this money or not? I think I've even caught myself doing that.
I have too.
I think it's a natural reaction, but what I try to think about is it doesn't matter. I mean, that person's on their own path. If the reason I give to that person is because when I drive away, what is the vibration, what's the level I'm going to be feeling when I drive away? You pull into a Starbucks. I think a great thing to do, I like to pass it on behind me.
Yeah.
Buy their coffee, buy whatever they ordered, and you pull out, you're never going to see that person again. But you just put a smile on their face, and how's that going to make you feel for the rest of the day? It's that concept. These are little things that I think everyone can do, but these are conditioners. And the whole thing is conditioning yourself every day so that you stay at this high vibration. Then when the big money comes, you're ready for it, and that allows you to do even greater things. And it's no different than just picking up a penny on the street corner, right? I think a lot of people will walk by. I used to do that.
Yeah.
And one of my coaches back in the day said, don't ever walk by and leave that penny on the ground, because it's just a representation, right, of money.
Wayne Dyer always said.
Yeah, money's not big or small, it's just our perception of it. So if we're not picking the penny up, what is that telling me in my psychology? It's telling me I'm not ready for the big stuff.
I love that lesson of cryptocurrency right now, because talk about human evaluation or judgments or conditions put upon monetization, right? And so a penny's only a penny because that's what we've created.
Right.
But the universe doesn't know.
It's relativity.
It's value.
Nothing's big or small.
Exactly.
It's our perception of it that makes it so.
And that's a really difficult thing. Now, my father, who left when I was young, one thing quality that he had and lesson he taught me was abundant. He actually forgot my birthday through my childhood, which caused all types of issues for me. I'm still dealing with.
Right.
But for my 30th birthday, he gave me a jacket that actually fit, which meant he asked somebody in my family what size I was, but I had no pockets. And so when I first received it, I thought, what a cruel joke. Like, here's a guy that I'm reestablishing my relationship with, wasn't there for me as a child, tortured my mom emotionally, like these awful things. And now he finally remembers my birthday and he gives me this jacket. And so, I said, I first, being 30 years old and not too enlightened, I'm like, hey man, thanks, but is this a joke? Mm-hmm. And he was teary-eyed and looked at me in the eye and said, no. He goes, because you have a valuable lesson that I want to teach you. And I rolled my eyes like, you have no right to teach me a lesson. Mm-hmm. Like, that's really where my state of mind was. And he said, no, he goes, just remember, this is for your funeral. And I double rolled my eyes. He goes, just remember, you're going to take nothing with you. Live your life from now on that way.
Right.
Because you're too focused on receiving.
Right.
And so that was a valuable lesson. Your father had some great qualities as well.
He did.
Although, like, my mom lived in the world of just enough, and my mom provided for me as well.
Right.
But what's that one most valuable lesson that your father taught you that you have today with you?
Without a doubt, hard work, dedication, discipline. My dad, 42 years, same company, worked nights for 25 of those years. So that's what we learned from Angela.
How many siblings did you have?
Two brothers. Okay. I'm in the middle.
You're an all-boy family, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I barely got one boy out.
Testosterone running around.
Perfect. Merge our families. Italian-Jewish family. Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, my dad was an extremely hard worker. Yeah. So first generation Italian American, and so when you think about it, that the picture that he had coming over here, they barely had enough to just survive. You know, and so he did, compared to his dad, he did extremely well. But the most money my dad ever made in 1 year was $40,000. So that was my picture of success. Yeah, and so, but what he did leave us was a legacy of just, being dedicated to what you're doing and working hard. So that's what, when I got out in the workforce and I was a young guy in my 20s, it's that old thought that if I just work a little harder, I'm going to get more money. And that's the illusion I think that a lot of us fall into. It's a trap because it's not about working harder. When you chase money, what I found is when you chase money, Dave, it's like a butterfly. It'll lose you. But if you'll go to work on yourself, it's that old adage that work twice as hard on yourself as you do your job. You go to work on yourself. And as you become more aware of you and what makes you tick and the things that you have to be changing to improve upon, your own personality and the way you think, the way you conduct yourself, the way you look at money, as you change those things and condition those things and grow those things, then the money for me started to flow. I was meeting the right people. Things just started to happen. I met my partner, Peter Maluk.
I love that.
17 years ago.
Just coincidentally, right? They coincide.
At the time,
I hear it all the time, right?
At the time, you think it just happened.
I met Lee Steinberg. I tell people all the time, how'd you get the best job in sports? I said, I don't know. I was helping a friend, and I met Lee Steinberg. It just happened. Right. Jeff Morad had left, but go ahead.
No, that's kind of exactly how it happened.
Right?
Peter had just started a firm called Creative Planning, and at the time we managed less than $100 million. And when Peter invited me to come over, I started the 401k division, so we managed corporate retirement plans. So we went from 0 to today we manage over 1,000 plans. But to your point, back when I joined Peter, I never could have seen that at the time. But I knew Peter was somebody that operated at a high level of integrity and energy, and I just, as you say, you just knew that this was something I needed to go forward with. So it's just, we all have opportunities that are presented to us throughout our life. The question is, do we recognize the opportunity and do we walk through the door?
Awareness.
Because it's awareness. It's awareness. And so I'm reading this book over and over right now called The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. You've probably read it.
Absolutely.
But he talks about the focus of that book is our concept of ourselves. So And like I mentioned, coming out of the environment I came out of it, I had a very low concept as it pertains to money when I was younger. But when we start to shift that concept of ourselves and we become more aware through study, through reading books, taking the courses, working with people like you, Scott Duffy, that's how we start to shift our awareness.
Elevate our awareness. Yeah. I would say awareness is the best gift I could give to someone. It lets you know, should I do business, not buy? Like just the fact, if you don't believe in awareness, think about awareness allows you to know whether to buy or sell, which I think in a pragmatic world, if you have the awareness of buying and selling, you'll talk about living rich.
Yeah.
Right? You just know when to buy and when to sell. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's simple to talk about not working hard. Now, one last question before my final big question. There's a conflict that everyone sees with guys who come from, my grandfather was your dad. My grandfather, 6 days a week, selling auto parts out of the back of a truck, built his own auto parts store, retired at 65 because that was his dream to never have to. He lived that American,
right.
All his kids went to graduate school, the whole bit. Well, when you have that real fire work ethic, where, I'm just gonna outwork you, I'm like a mule. You may be smarter than me, you may come from way more than me, you may know everybody, but I'm going to outwork you. Then you come into this realization, like you said, of allowance.
Yeah.
Where you're working on yourself and you're like, I just have to allow it to happen.
Right.
You still have to put energy out. How do you explain to people, because you are this executive coach, you're a high level coach, right? You're dealing with really intelligent people that are motivated type A personalities. How do you teach them to say, look, you're not in control. You're in control of yourself.
Right.
But how do you teach them you don't have to do that? You can live rich right now and allow things to happen, but you still have to put value out in work. How's that conflict? How do you explain that?
Well, I think it's an awareness of understanding where you are in terms of where you want to go. I think if you talk to most people that are at a high level of success, you have unconscious competence. They don't even necessarily know how they're doing what they're doing, but they're doing certain things in a certain way. Proctor talks about that. Success is doing certain things in a certain way. So I think once you kind of uncover the veil and start to ask some questions, you can quickly ascertain whether they're consciously aware of their success or they're not. And then I think it goes to the next step is what do they really want? Because I think what happens is we're chasing that one ladder. We think that when we get to the top of this ladder, we've got it. This is what we want.
Right, attachment.
But I think when you start to get to know people that are achieving at a high level, they're not really sure what the end of the ladder looks like. They're just on this thing.
Do you think they care?
I think they do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think most do. Yeah. And so through the high-end coaching that I do, what I'm trying to do is help them discover what rung on the ladder do you want to end at? I mean, what's really your final destination and what do you really want? So I think, that seems like a simple question, Dave, but that question of what do you really want?
Oh.
I think when you peel the onion away, when you peel the layers off, it's not necessarily what you think you want.
I agree.
It's just like money. We don't want money because we want, pieces of paper with dead presidents on it. We want money because of what it can do for us.
Right.
You talked about the options, and that's how I think about it. We want a business that manages 36 billion clients in all 50 states. We're one of the largest independent advisors in America now. And when I used to do the meetings, I used to do these 401k meetings. When I first started, it was, me. So I'd go out and I'd do these group 401k meetings and I'd be introducing the 401k to the participants. And that's one of the things that I talk to them about is you're doing this because you want to create options for yourself when you get down the road. Because if you don't do this, you're going to look back to this day and realize that, I had an opportunity that I didn't take advantage of. So it's not necessarily, retirement to me isn't some day where the thought of retirement is a noble thing.
Sure.
And some people truly do retire, but I think for most people, they're just going to move on to the next phase in their life. And if you've got some, dinero on the side, then that affords you the opportunity to do what you want to do, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I believe it is a transition, right? Yeah, there's certain transitions that take. The other thing that you taught me is not only, to detach my happiness from that outcome to know what I want, but enjoy that journey.
Right.
Right.
It's a process.
Part of it in your book, right? You really have to enjoy it. Last question, because we're running out of time, and we'll do this again because I've got many more questions. You've already done so much. Your actual business is about creating a legacy, right? 401ks are truly about creating a legacy.
Building wealth. Yeah.
Yeah. What legacy do you want to leave behind when it's all said and done?
I want to live what I want to know. For example, with my kids, I just want them to have the belief system that anything is possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, anything is possible. If you want it bad enough, you will find a way. And that's what I always tell my kids. If you really want it bad enough, first of all, you have to decide what you want.
Think about it. It's a possibility.
If you don't do that, you're just going to take whatever comes your way, whatever life brings to you. So, but I want the people I work with to know that if they want something bad enough, there is a way. If they can tell me what they want, I can show them how to get it.
That's absolutely true.
So it comes with a decision. That's what I'm going to talk about today. First of all, you have to decide. Secondly, you got to have the desire behind it. And that's the passion, that's the fuel that'll keep pushing you through. I heard Tony Robbins the other day talking about hungry. You got to get this hunger inside of you because that's your fuel. And when you get that, then you start that fire. And so, that's the thing about goals. When I talk to people about goal setting, it's not the goal per se. It's, as we just talked about, it's the person you become and the process of having, to get to that goal. So the legacy I want to leave is that, hey, this guy taught us that anything was possible, and if we believed we could do it, we could do it. And that's simply what I believe in. And it's the same thing with money, Dave. I really believe that about money. If you'll adopt the mindset, and it's not easy to get to. I mean, I'm in my 50s now. It took me a long time. I struggled with this stuff for a long time. But if you truly believe that you have enough, what I always do is if I want something, whether it's a material item or I want to go somewhere or be with somebody, or if the thought pops into my head, you're like, is that too much? Then I know I have to go for it. I'll never make a decision because I said, well, I didn't do that because I didn't know if I could afford it or I didn't know if I had the money. If you're saying that to yourself, you've got to go for it. And so if you'll adopt that mindset, this is that whole mindset about living rich. You do it in your mind. You do it every day. So if you have that philosophy, that psychology that anything is possible, but you got to ingrain that. And so that's the one thing that, again, like with my kids and the people I work with and my employees, and I just want them to believe anything is possible and truly act on it and believe it is possible by taking those actions and start moving in those directions. So I think it's just an unlimited mindset is the long story to a short answer.
No, I love it.
Just go for whatever you want. I mean, the reality of it is we have a short time here. I mean, we really do. We don't know. We don't know if tomorrow's going to be here, right?
Yep.
My thing is go for what you want. Just go for what you want, and it's going to work out, man. If you really believe it, if you buy in and you're all in, you got to be all in. That's the thing. If you're all in, it's going to happen. I mean, it may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen exactly the way that you want it to happen.
Most likely won't.
But it's going to happen in a better and a bigger way if you're all in. So,
I agree, and I talk about, and I love you say, first you got to know what you want, make that decision, right? Because I tell people mathematically, when you decide what you want, it automatically becomes a possibility. The minute you decide what you want over nothing. So that's a mathematical advantage.
Right.
I have a possibility. Then when you become inspired, like you talked about, the possibility becomes a probability. You now are connected to what inspires you. You have this belief, right?
Yes.
And that's the fire, the hunger.
it's the vibration. Now you've just got up on that vibration.
Right. And now there's only one thing, and I know this is where you've taken me to the next level. From that probability, there's only one thing that stands between you and your reality or your perspective, and that's you.
Right.
And so look within, find and fuel that fire, and everything that you dream about can be yours. And there's no limitation.
It will happen.
Stay tough with it, be disciplined about it, and retire rich. And unfortunately we're out of time, but this, as I knew, would be a tremendous interview.
I really enjoyed it, Dave.
I'm a big fan of yours. Bob
Thank you so much.
Pascuzzi here.
All right.
And
really enjoyed
get
it.
the book, it's incredible. One of my favorite and one of the top 3 mentors of my life, and just a pleasure to work with you both ways. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneur, the Playbook.